Messi unhappy with Pochettino, Benitez stops the rot, Chelsea signed a new defender, and a transfer roundup all coming up in the next few minutes as I'm your host Matt Froelich. You are the One Footballers and this is the Daily News. So first up, and apparently Lionel Messi and his team aren't exactly thrilled with the way that Mauricio Pochettino is running things at PSG. I say Messi and his team because there's not only Messi and his entourage, but the rest of the PSG team as well. Apparently some players think he's too soft, some players think it's a bit ridiculous that Messi was allowed to celebrate his Ballon d'Or win a couple of days before a Liga game, and all in all, it looks as though the Argentinian isn't exactly in favour with most of the team, despite what he says in press conferences. Alongside this, there's also the thought that his restrictive style of play, especially when it comes to the speed that they counter-attack with, isn't exactly helping the likes of Neymar, Mbappe and Messi fulfill their fullest potential. But honestly, I think it's always going to be tough. We've seen it with previous managers. It's not always the easiest to try and get the best out of so many good players. You can't just put a team full of superstars together and expect them to work all so perfectly, all with the way that Mauricio Pochettino likes. At Barcelona, Lionel Messi pretty much controlled things not only on the pitch, but it seems off the pitch as well. And when it comes to Neymar and Mbappe, those two worked well together at PSG in the last few years, but it looks as though with all three of them in the team, it just really doesn't help anyone. Mauricio Pochettino likes to have his team play a pressing style, and there's a certain discipline that you needed to be playing under the Argentine, and well, it looks as though the front three don't exactly have any plans to buy into it completely just yet. Whether that's because Lionel Messi isn't exactly buying into the PSG project and just needed a top team, whether it's Kylian Mbappe who maybe has his heart set on a move elsewhere and doesn't exactly see his long-term future there, whatever it is, there just are rumours of discontent, and it looks as though Pochettino may not be in charge for too much longer. On one hand, you've got the fact they're destined to finish second in their Champions League group, meaning they might get a tougher opponent in the draw. And on top of all of this, there are still rumours that he's going to be heading to Manchester United. Of course, they've just brought Ralf Rangnick in, but it's only on an interim basis. And come the summer, Manchester United will be looking for a brand new coach. The other name linked with them in a minute is Jesse Marsch, who was just fired from RB Leipzig. But with this long-standing relationship and certainly all the rumours with Mauricio Pochettino, it looks as though maybe he will eventually end up at Old Trafford. Moving on though to a bit of last night's Premier League action as Everton managed to stop the rot with a 2-1 victory late on over Arsenal. And you can't say it wasn't deserved, especially for Richarlison, who managed to get his goal at the third time of asking. He had 2 goals disallowed from VAR before finally heading into Everton's equaliser before Demarai Gray hit an absolute wonder strike to condemn Mikel Arteta's side to a 2-1 defeat. Now this has really stopped the rot for Rafa Benitez. It's their first win in 9 league games. Absolutely astonishing. There were loads of reports that Rafa Benitez could be on thin ice, but he's received some backing from the board, and certainly that 2-1 victory is in stark contrast to the scenes last week after they lost 4-1 in the derby to Liverpool. There was a little bit of luck about the game though, especially when you consider that Ben Godfrey was quite lucky to escape a red card for stamping on Tomiyasu. But overall, Everton, especially in the second half, did deserve their victory, and it's a little bit of good news for Richarlison, who managed to grab his 3rd goal of the season. Having said that, actually, talking about the Richarlison goals, they were both offside, technically by the letter of the law. The first one, yes. The second one, he gave a very, very harsh done by, but it's good to see that they're actually applying the law and not just being inconsistent with it. Anyway, what it does mean is that Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, a striker on the other team, really isn't looking in form at the minute. His goal drought continues and he is absolutely desperate, as the Arsenal team are, to find the back of the net sooner rather than later as they face a tough period over Christmas. Next up then, I'm moving to Chelsea, and it looks as though they've already agreed a deal for a new defender in Fenerbahce's Attila Szalai. The Hungarian looks as though he may be moving to Stamford Bridge in January in a €20 million deal. That is according to the Hungary manager Marco Rossi. Speaking recently at a press conference, he said that there are so many players who he thinks would do well in the Premier League and in Serie A as well. One of them being the defender Szalai, who he said has already completed a move to Chelsea. Now, of course, this isn't official confirmation just yet, but it would actually make sense for Chelsea. So they've got Antonio Rudiger and Andreas Christensen, whose contracts are both running out at the end of the season. They've got a 37-year-old Thiago Silva, I believe it is now, and they just can't seem to finalise the deal to bring Jules Koundé to the club because Sevilla want too much money. So if you add all of that together, and the fact that Cesar Azpilicueta is reportedly in talks with Barcelona about joining on a free at the end of the season, they will need some defenders in the future. They can't just rely on having one defender. So Szalai looks as though he's coming in at 23 years old for only 20 million, represents a pretty good deal. He only moved to Fenerbahce in the winter transfer last season, well technically this year, in January of 2021, but it looks as though he could be on the move again for a good bit of money for the Turkish club, for a definitely good pay packet for him considering how much Chelsea pay per week to most of their first team players, and a massive step up in class as well. Finally then, we come to a quick roundup of the rest of the transfer news that you might have missed. And first off, Jurgen Klopp and Mo Salah are heading in the same direction when it comes to contract talks, as well as the club. They all know what they want. It's just going to take quite a few discussions to get there. We're of course talking about Mo Salah signing a new contract. Elsewhere, and former Chelsea and Manchester City goalkeeper Willy Caballero has signed for Southampton on a short-term deal as they face a couple of keeper injury worries. On top of this, Leeds United could be sold to NFL side San Francisco 49ers as they have an option to purchase 100% of the club by January of 2024. And lastly but not least, the FA Cup third round draw was made. Now, if you're a fan of massive cup upsets, then look no further than potentially Tottenham, who host Morecambe. There's also Swindon against Manchester City, and Shrewsbury Town will be taking on the mighty Liverpool. But if you want to support a lower league side as well and look at those outside of the Football League, well, there's quite a treat for you. Kidderminster Harriers are playing in the 6th Division in England, and they face off against Championship side Reading. There's also league leaders in the National League Chesterfield, who face off against Chelsea, last season's finalists losing to Leicester. On top of this, Yeovil of the National League, which is the 5th tier in England, face off against Bournemouth. And lastly but not least, the other team in it are Boreham Wood. After a stunning 4-0 victory against rivals St Albans last night, they've set up a third round tie against AFC Wimbledon. That's all from me then. Make sure you check back tomorrow for loads more OneFootball content. But until next time, I will see you guys later.